Hello, my name is John Lind, and today I am going to show you how to set up ReleaseOps. There are about 13 steps to configure it, and so that is quite a lot. We're working on a more streamlined configuration process, but I'd like to show you how to do it with the initial release of Zurich. And I'm also going to give you a little bit of background, not only on what we're doing, but why we're doing it. I would encourage you to follow along with the online documentation. Pause the video and open this URL so that you have this documentation ready as you work through this video. So the bulk of the setup is probably setting up Multi-Instance Management Framework, or MIF, and that is to allow our different instances to securely communicate with each other about the state of deployments. After that, we will be setting up the mechanism necessary for the pipelines. It allows you to deploy from dev, test to prod. So for a little context, the multi-instance management relationship is the concept of controller, which is usually your prod instance, controlling a dev and a test instance. So now we need to go set up the multi-instance management relationships between our environments. I will do that by going to prod and making a request to each of dev and test to be their manager. As my niece likes to say, I'm the boss of you. And I will do that by going to multi-instance management, managed instances, and use the Add Managed Instances button. And you'll see there's my demo dev and demo test. I will select both of those by holding down Shift and then click Send Requests. Give that a second, we'll reload, and you'll see that these managed instance requests are here in pending approval. Next, I will go to the test environment. This time I'll go to multi-instance management. I will go to manager instances. And you can see there's one here requesting approval. I'm going to very carefully click this little eye icon and open the record. And I'm going to approve the manager instance. Nice. Now we'll go to the dev instance. Do the same thing, go to manager instances. Again, very carefully click the little eye. Open the record. And use approve manager instance. Excellent. So that creates a link between the instances. So now I will set up the deployment instances. This is a flat list and is all configured within prod. There will be no need to go to test or dev to set up anything on this step. For this, I will go to ReleaseOps and then go to deployment instances. As you can see, there are no deployment instances in here yet. So I will switch news. I will select the instance for prod, and you'll notice I have to refer to myself as well. And I will say that that is of instance type production. Then I will submit. I'll create another one. The instance will be test. Instance type is test, and I will submit that. And finally, I will do dev, and instance type is development, and submit that. So this is good. This has our multi-instance management framework configured. Next, we'll start configuration of our ReleaseOps pipeline. The pipeline instances are what the pipeline will use to determine the interim stops along the pipeline. The source or dev environment comes from the deployment request. When you make the deployment request, it knows which dev environment it came from. In a related manner, the prod instance is defined in the release. So the release knows that it's deploying to a specific prod environment. The pipeline instances are the interim environments. In this case, it's test, but you might need one for stage, QA, etc. And I will do this in prod as well. I will go to pipelines, and I will start with sample release pipeline, and I'll go to pipeline instances, and I will hit new. And then I will say that the deployment instance is test, and the label is test. This is just an abstraction. You may end up with instances with different names that are the test instance for a pipeline. So we want to use a generic label. You may have ReleaseOps demo test, you may have ReleaseOps demo QA, you may have other instances that are test instance, and this is a way to describe which one is that test instance. And then I will go back to ReleaseOps pipelines, and I'll go to the on-demand pipeline, and I will do the same thing. So the deployment instance is test, and the label is test. Next, we'll be setting up the update sources, also known as remote instances. Multi-instance management at this point does not transmit the update sets themselves between instances. Rather, it's used for coordination. And we use the traditional update sources, which you may be familiar with the authentication credentials to pull those update sets. You'll notice that controller or prod will be pointing to both dev and test, while test will point to dev. So basically each of these will pull from the lower instance, while there will be a link that bypasses it from controller to dev that's used for deployment analyzer to reach out, look at the dev instance, and analyze the deployment. So to do this, we'll start with prod, and we will point to test. Go to System Update Sets, Update Sources, and hit New. We will call this one Test. The URL is the full URL of your instance. Enter the username and password of an account that has the ability to retrieve update sets from that environment. And then save, and then test connection. Connection is okay, good. Now we will go back and add one for dev. New, call it dev, save it, test connection, and you'll see the connection's okay. So now we'll do this one more time on the test instance, because again, the test instance needs to point to the dev instance to retrieve update sets from dev. Update sources, new, you can see that tested. Great. There's one last thing we have to do, and this is the change we have to make in dev. So we need to go set the ReleaseOps deployment controller URL. This tells the dev environment which site to go to when you create a deployment request from dev. All assets are created in prod, even if you click a link in dev, and this tells that dev instance where to go to create new deployment requests. We'll change to the ReleaseOps application. And we will put in the URL of prod. That is it. Tune into the next video to see the process exercised for the first time. Thank you. You may test out your configuration by reproducing a simple demo by following this link here. And there's also an example of your first scheduled release in the documentation, which is also linked here.